Hi everyone, this is Daria and I'm happy to have Lena as a guest for this interview. Lena is a developer relations engineer at the Celo Foundation. She was a governor of HER DAO and still an advisor for this community. She also a public speaker and active participant in many blockchain events. So it's amazing that you, Lena, joined me here for this interview today. And please describe your background.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, great to be here, Lena. I am, as you said, developer relations engineer at Celo Foundation. I think my main mission always was to diversify the tech space. I believe that we can if we want to build for a global community, we have to build with a global community or with people that represent this community, which was always like my mission or like my direction and like choosing my work and the communities I work with. So, because I really believe that if we build for the most marginalized people, we will build great products that serve everybody. So yeah, that's kind of like how I entered tech, how I entered Web3, because I feel like especially Web3 is so new. We can still change things
Yeah.
and learn from mistakes that we made in Web2. And yeah, that was also like my reason to join HER DAO. And I worked with HER DAO for 2 years to onboard women and non-binary people into Web3, and then joined the Celo ecosystem. Was from the beginning on, I was looking for an ecosystem that really aligns with my values. And I feel like everybody who knows the Celo ecosystem will understand that they always they focus so much on purpose, building with purpose. They have always focused on building for emerging markets and with them. And so when I found out about the Celo ecosystem, I was like, okay, this fits really, really great. And I met the people and I really loved them. And yeah, so I was very happy when I joined the ecosystem. I first started working at Toucan Protocol, and they do carbon credits. And then I joined the Celo Foundation in the beginning of the year.
Thank you very much. So can you describe in more details what is Celo Foundation and what is its mission and vision?
So as I said, Celo builds with prosperity for all. And it is a layer 1 EVM compatible blockchain that is becoming a layer 2. So we have published, like C-Labs, one of the main core contributors to the Celo ecosystem, has published like a proposal last year in July to become a layer 2, to just like, we've always been close to the Ethereum ecosystem, but with the move to becoming a layer 2, we just move in closer. We like our builders and our whole ecosystem will profit from like shared liquidity, but also more security, and in general just be like benefit from the interoperability that will be enabled to that. And now this year, we are already 4 years old. Like for people who might not know, Celo launched 4 years ago, Earth Day. So we are a more established chain, and many people might know Celo as the ReFi ecosystem. We are focused. Like carbon credits, gain forests. Like we have a lot of projects that think about how to create financial systems about sustainability, and also grassroots organization, community work. And I think that was really what drew me to the ecosystem. One of the things that many people are not aware is that Celo has always focused on inclusion first and accessibility with their whole design. Like it was mobile first from the beginning. There was a protocol for identifiers, like you can match your phone number to a wallet address. So like kind of to remove this barrier of, I don't know what a wallet address is. And this is kind of like, you know, like a lot of people, it's too long. It's like you always have to copy it, and you also won't remember the wallet address of somebody else, right? So I think with Valora, one of our main wallets, they had implemented that from the beginning and made blockchain, I think, accessible on a completely different level. And like people could even send money to a phone number. And like, the rest of the space caught up on that in the last years. And now you have a lot of other ways to authenticate yourself. But I really love that was built into the main design of the blockchain. Also, like very small fees, like sub-cent, like 0.001 And we focus on real world asset. I already mentioned carbon credits, but also stable coins. We have so many different stable coins on the
Yeah.
ecosystem, like a lot of different US dollar pegged stable coins, but also this is, I think, is another thing where that is so important for the step of like actually creating value for people is to create local stablecoins. So we have in the Celo ecosystem, the Mentor protocol exists that develops like, of course, we have CUSD, C Euro, but also C Real. We just launched the Celo Kenyan Shilling, and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of enabled a lot more financial opportunities also for people. Like we always say, like Celo blockchain will bank the unbanked and like help with financial inclusion, but then a lot of the tools that like would enable that are missing, and I feel like Celo has focused on that a lot over the years to like develop that. I think that is also why we now have, for example, MiniPay, which is a wallet that has more than 3 million users, and people actually like we have users outside of Web3, and I think that's very
Mm-hmm.
unique and speaks for actually like thinking about designing for the people. But I think we will also talk about that a bit more later, so I will not to get too deep into that.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, can you explain what are you doing at Celo Foundation?
So as I said, I'm a DevRel engineer, and I think if you are DevRel stands for developer relation. If you are in that bubble on Twitter, it's very hilarious. The conversations of like, what does it mean to be DevRel? And lately there has been like a discourse about DevRel versus BD, and
Yeah, and marketing, BD, DevRel,
yeah,
all these
it's
battles.
a whole conversation, and I'm like, why is that a battle? It should actually be we all need to work together because otherwise we're not going to be able to create this like pipeline. But yeah, as I said, it can be everything. It can be marketing, it can be education, it can be coding, and so that varies really a lot. I think I would say on our current strategy. My responsibility was in the last year to host and organize. I was in charge of the online hackathons. Through HER DAO, I really learned loving hackathons, like the value they bring in the sense of education, empowerment, connecting communities. So, but there's also a lot of work with Twitter posts, like marketing involved. Like, of course, I have to like, when you host a hackathon, you also need to promote it. And then we do a lot of community work. I work with our regional DAOs because they are the people on the ground. They know what our builders need. They connect us to builders. They support us with our builders programs. So a lot of like talking, also user research. In the end, you need to figure out what do your developers need and want. And I think it also really depends on the stage of your company or of your protocol. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm now moving kind of into the next questions with like BD marketing. But I would say for I think as blockchain is such a fast moving space, you need to adapt quickly. You need to iterate on your strategy and be able to say, okay, right now, this is not what we need. I think, especially when you're a new blockchain that is pre-testnet, you want to get a lot of validators. So that would be your strategy. So a lot of like incentive programs for people to start running a
Mm-hmm.
node.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you just launch testnet, you want to just like to incentivize a lot of like people to try it out, learn about you. So a lot
Yeah.
of marketing. And then when you're live on mainnet, I think a lot of the work would be on like creating a sustainable ecosystem. So you want to understand how to encourage open source contribution, how to have a good grant system so projects can move from pre-seed
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to something that will really bring TVL. So this is very different. Then it's also, are you working for a blockchain or a protocol? Are you more like, do you want other protocols to integrate with you so you have to market more to developers, or it's more advanced developers if you're a chain, you want to build a whole ecosystem. So you want to invite everyone that like follows your mission. So I think developer relations every time you would talk about it, it's different. But what I love about it is actually that it changes so much. Like one day I'm coding a whole
Mm-hmm.
example app, and then I'm preparing a tutorial around it, and then I'm doing a workshop, and then I'm talking to people and teaching them how to do it. And yeah, and I think that's the fun. I think that's what most developer relation people love, that it's so diverse and you do so many different things, and you get to travel and talk to amazing people. And yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the essence.
Sounds amazing, really. So, as a DevRel, I'm sure you know the challenges of onboarding people to Web3 users and like beginner developers. So, can you share a bit more about your vision on challenges of onboarding to Web3?
Yeah, I think there's like we need to differentiate, as we already started doing that, like to differentiate between like who are we onboarding, right? Like if we talk about developers, they really need to understand the concept of what does decentralization mean. They can, of course, only learn the tech, but you need to also understand the concept behind. So there's like a lot of education still necessary, I would say, especially, but then one of the issues with that is actually that right now we're in a state of Web3 development where we learn to develop for Web3 people, because a lot of the like a lot of the tooling for making accessible tech was missing. So now you still have a lot of people that at this like wallet connect button, and you see an address that is visible in the application. So that it's a lot of like UX that is not catered to anyone outside of Web3, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I think that's actually one of the biggest challenges in onboarding developers, to teach them to like understand Web3 development, but then develop for Web2 users. And
Yeah.
so I would say that's what I see as my biggest challenge currently, because we have a lot of products, or like we want people to develop products that are Web2 with the Web3 backend, but as they are so used to like in tutorials and study, like you learn, or like even unit, like a lot of Web3 projects, that's the standard. And I feel like to rethink again is one of the biggest challenges here. And then for users, I would say 100%, and I think we all know that the UX. I even know people who have been working in the Web3 space for a long time. They have organized community events, like so many things, and they still struggle with like on-ramping and off-ramping, with understanding where to send tokens, with bridging. Still too complex. Like at one point, like, we don't know,
Yeah.
and I think that's like a classic sentence, but we don't know how the internet works. We like our users should not have to know how Web3 works, right? And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
we are the focus this year. It's really beautiful to see that there's been so much work done regarding like chain agnostic development and like interoperability. So at one point, we don't know what chain we are interacting with. We don't know what token we are sending. These tokens are in the backend. If we will want to see them, we could. The general user should not have to deal with that. They should just see their amount, their value
Yeah.
in their currency. So I think that that's it. And I think that's I think the challenges that I see. And I think we already see some great examples of that when we think about gaming with NFTs, when we think about storage providers who don't talk about being crypto, having blockchain and an underlying blockchain technology. They just say we offer more secure and cheaper services than our
Yeah.
competitors, and they are the most successful ones. And I think that's the interesting thing to see. And also, like I already touched on this with like talking about MiniPay as a wallet, like it's designed for Web2 users. It's super simple user interface. You don't see all your tokens. You see the tokens that are shown in the front end, which is like only stable coins, no
Yeah.
volatility, and I think no complexity. And I think that's what needs to happen when we want to build for like mainstream adoption and for like scalable applications for everyone.
Thank you for your point. And to continue this topic about mass adoption, about onboarding new people to Web3, so I want to discuss with you your participation and your role in HER DAO.
To the origin story, it was actually happened in Lisbon, where I am right now, where there was in November we always have Lisbon Blockchain Week. And I wasn't there, to be honest. There was like some women who are my friends who I admire that came together and said, we need to do something. Like there's not enough women. Let's do the action. And they got a lot of funding from a blockchain that is like not anymore so popular, or like not so big. If I can I would give a shout out to Harmony, because I think there was a lot of drama around Harmony, but one of the things that I will be forever grateful and appreciate that they gave a grant. They trusted her now, and they gave so many like around 100 scholarships for women to go to Denver 2022. Imagine like suddenly you knew like crypto conferences before that was just like, man, and suddenly you had like 100 women being everywhere, and it's a huge conference. But I feel like you still could feel it, and like a lot of people talked about that. And also like bringing all of these women together led to like so many other female focused organizations being founded, and it was truly incredible. Like it was the first time we sent like hackathon teams, and I won. Like I was 15th with my team. We were an all-female team. Suddenly there were like 2 all-female teams in like the winning category. Like, it doesn't happen so often that you have like an all-female team on the winning stage, you know?
Even today, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like whenever HER DAO is there, it happens, which is amazing. Or like and there's also other developer DAOs that are doing an incredible work and have been doing, and yeah, so like after that, like I knew the people through like a online study group that I did, and then I came to Denver and I just took ownership. I was just like doing everything that was needed, and after that they asked me to come on as a governor, and then I kind of took over we really identified through Denver that hackathons are one of the like best tools to onboard people quickly. And really, like, I think one of the hardest things, and I didn't say that before, about onboarding somebody is confidence. I think that is that to really believe you can make it in this space. I feel like there's so many people that are so enthusiastic, and a lot of people that are lost and don't understand like how to navigate, or like, is this really the right place for them? And attending a hackathon, submitting something, people learn all the different parts that are needed, like community, decentralization, tokenomics, like everything you have to kind of think about in a hackathon. And I think if you look at like our like scholars, like a lot of them, like they work in all the big protocols. We now have people that were our scholars and came with us to conferences, to hackathons. We distributed more than like 200K like in like scholarships, and all of these people won. There's beautiful stories, and if I have the time, I would just like tell 2. One was like I was with a team in Berlin, NFT Berlin, and they were like doing Web3 hackathon for the first time, and then one of them, like both of them only knew a bit of Solidity, and we wanted to also do something with Rust. So I was like, just translate it. And then they did, and we won this prize for this Rust. And it was so cool. And we won. We were an all-female team. We won the most prizes. And one of them, she took this money and she paid for like another Solidity course. And then in the end, you can like either receive the money back or you can donate it. And she donated it for another woman to take part in this course. And like, this is just one of the stories, but I have so many people that come to me and like, because we did the hackathons, but every time we went to a conference, we also had women in Web3 branch, because we also realized a lot of women feel very like, if you enter a space that is so male dominated, you get really anxious. And I feel like then you can't reach your full potential. You don't feel secure. You don't feel confident. And then it's really hard to network. It's really hard to like move around. And like sometimes it's just nice to see somebody you know and you can rest for a second. And so we had hosted these brunches, and they really led to like a lot of like still so many women come to me and say like, Lena, I was thinking about if I should enter. I thought it was only men. I come from an industry with only men. I didn't want to, and then I came to your branches and it was so beautiful, and that made me join. Like, and I
Yeah.
think that that's really, really beautiful. And but we also like realize, okay, we cannot keep traveling so much. We also need to understand how do we reach people on the ground? And that's when we started to having like a lot of regional chapters. Our first one with HER DAO Kenya, which is like one of our most successful ones. They have amazing collaboration. They have already organized a few scholarships themselves. They support a lot of crypto communities and conferences in their region. But now we have like many more. We have Argentina, we have South Africa, we have Nigeria, we have also France, we had Germany. It's not that active, unfortunately, anymore. I also one time went to East Warsaw to host like a brunch, a lunch to like encourage women to participate in the hackathon. And yeah, I think recently we also added an educational program. We will have Road to DevCon education where people can join a study group and really like get prepared for the hackathon. We will host some if you know the concept of Edge City, which is kind of like an open city, a place where people come together, thought leaders in the industry, and just exchange ideas,
It's like
host workshops.
Zuzalu
Yeah,
City or
exactly,
something
like
like.
Suzalu. And like we are also hosting some of these in Asia for getting ready for DevCon. And so we all hosted, what we do is like very broad, but we also hosted hackathons, which became also interestingly very technical throughout the years. The last one was in Brussels, and it was so beautiful because we had a short pitch session, and it was a lot of women presenting their startup ideas, super technical, super young. It was like so, yeah, very, very beautiful to see. To like also see a lot of them used to be scholars and used to be, like through traveling, they also got a lot of network and contacts and were able to become founders, and like, which is so beautiful to see.
Actually, I want to add that I interviewed Gaia, and she from Byzantine Finance, and she was also a guest for my interview, and she and her partner shared the idea, and I know that she participated in this pitch contest. So the world is small, and she also shared that it was pretty cool and interesting to them to present, to have some feedback from the community.
And it was, I think this hackathon, like this conference, it was incredible. There was like so many women who also like, it was like a lot of people who are new in the industry, but then also a lot of people who have been in the industry for 6 years. They came and they saw these pictures, and I was like, okay, this is cool. You know, like they stay here and they see what we are doing. And so that was, I feel like also to see the way that HER DAO has come from like the idea to like provide scholarships to like creating these like local chapters all over the world, and then also bringing people together from all over to take part in online hackathons and study Solidity together. And also recently we launched a new study group together with the Phoenix Guild, which is another amazing, incredible female developer DAO from India, and also the Women in Ethereum Protocol team. And it's to bring women also into the development on protocol layer, because there it's like I feel like in dApp development you have more women, but especially if you look at protocol layer, there's almost no women. So we started this study group where people can actively learn to contribute to open source. We also saw that like a lot of women don't know how to contribute to open source, which comes like supernatural to a lot of male developers, but a lot of women have never been onboarded to that. So like we are trying to like close this gap of like confidence, knowledge to then be able to contribute, to receive rewards in a way of like how open source contribution work in Web3, that you can also get rewarded. So that was that like it's been really, really beautiful to see. From in the beginning there were just like not that many women that were on a skill level or like a senior level, and now we have a lot of senior developers also, which is really amazing.
Why do you think many men want to participate in women communities or want to join them? What attracts them?
I think there's two things. So maybe the first thing earlier I said if you build something for the most marginalized, it will be great for everyone. And I realized that sometimes, with the study group and approaches that we have, a lot of men are actually would also be in need of that. Somebody who really like gives them confidence, take them under hand, and like helps them understand the space in a like friendly and caring manner. I think sometimes if you go into the all male space, they have like all of these roles and they don't have so much patience, and sometimes it can be very intimidating. So I think kind of this more open, more safety is very appealing to men, because in the end, not all men, like I feel like we live in a gendered society, but it's also like what we are taught to be, and a lot of people don't agree with like, so I think in the end more people would wish for an approach like that. The other thing is, and I think it was so beautiful to see HeFi in Brussels at the HeFi summit in Brussels, where we saw each other met in the first. And there were so many men, and I feel like first of all, it's the vibe. I'm sorry, but like if you would compare an all-female event to an all-male event, like the all-female event would be so much more fun because people actually talk to each other and have fun, and I feel like it's more of a vibe, and I think they also like crave for more, just like you can talk about tech and difficult concepts in a fun, I feel like also in a fun way. I don't know how to, in an environment that does not feel too stuffy and where you only talk about that. And then, but I think it's also, I think some people also realize and understand and like read the studies that actually like companies with women have more success in reaching consumer. And I think it's just the general understanding that, and I think HeFi has been really leading with that, to like showcase with so many female professionals in all areas, and they have things to say, they have an opinion, and they have like a grounded like opinion on things, on tech. And I feel like that is something that more and more men now also understand. And I think that's it's a beautiful development to see.
Yeah, I agree with you. And how do you see the future of communities? Do you see the difference between communities in Web3 and more traditional niches, or AI community, or like other communities?
I would say like the difference between a Web3 community and any other community is that the people are so open to travel everywhere. I think, like, I mean, first of all, half of the people are digital nomads. I think you normally are more in like local communities, and then you go like to a conference once or twice. I don't know. That's just how I assume it is. I think the other thing is that, and I'm talking about the bubble that I'm moving in, which is like the very builders focused bubble on like governance and like what can blockchain be used for. You're surrounded constantly by people who share the same vision, and like with the aim to like use blockchain technology to like kind of like update existing systems or improve, or like in general like understanding that a lot of systems, how they work today, it's very like inefficient and also not fair, or like also like not up to date. So I think you're surrounded by a lot of people who are very vision driven. And like I would say, if you are, and it's really interesting because you can talk to almost everybody and have a great conversation, because you will find something that you care about. And I feel like that made me, I feel like it's so special. And I feel like I used to work in Web2 tech, and I feel like a lot of people there, they do their job and then they go home and they might find their product interesting and talk about the quarter numbers, but I feel like it's not this passion for something. And I think that's very unique about Web3.
Yeah.
That you have the feeling, especially as you don't have a stable contract, especially as you have to travel so much, especially as like nothing is safe and like everything changes all the time. You have to love it. Otherwise you would not be there, because you have to be a little bit crazy, I think, to like
Yeah.
to stay in this space, right? And I think that makes it so special, and why we love being there so much.
So, what do you think? What will be with Web3 communities in the future?
So one of the things that I feel need to happen, because I think we are at a point where we are growing, like an analogy, I don't know the word. Sometimes you have a space that is like so much fun and everybody is like, when you have this OG space and like everybody wants to be part of it. But at one point, so many people become part of it that it grows and it becomes something else, and you have to adapt and not like be sad about what you left behind, and like not also be open to merge with everything that is coming new. And I feel like I still feel there's kind of like an elitism, or like something where people are like, they talk about governance all the time, and like I think the Suzalu community is great, and they discuss a lot of interesting questions, and I think Vitalik made a really good move with like creating this Gitcoin fund to like really like broaden that and say like we should have that everywhere. It should not always be the same people that organize this, but it should come from the community. And I feel like one of the things that I feel sometimes that I see, especially with this community Ethereum, is they are so stuck in their like bubble of like interesting conversation and moving forward, and we don't want to onboard some like. And I think then, and there's a lot of value that comes out of that, but I think there should also be like, there need to be an openness to adapt and make the space more accessible and inclusive, because otherwise we can have an elite and a hierarchy, and new people will have like issues entering. I think it's also like it would be crucial to listen to this new generation, because the way the concepts have been developed are still, it's like in a bubble, and I feel like sometimes the real world access is missing, especially when you develop for a global community, but the global community, as I said in the beginning, is yet not involved. And I think Suzalu has been trying, like the community has been trying to like provide scholarships and get it more inclusive, but I think there's still a long way to go to fully achieve that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And if we talk about transparency and decentralization, we have to be transparent and decentralized, not this hierarchy, pyramids and elite clubs. Yeah, I agree with you. So let's talk a bit about Web3 culture. So we just discussed how it can be improved, what can be added, but maybe you have something to add more to describe the Web3 culture, or to give your advice how to improve it in wider things.
So I think when we talk about Web3 community, you have 90% of the people who are degens and who just do trading, and who have and that's okay, and that's their thing. And I think it's also fun to have meme culture and all of that. I'm not saying there's like a little toxic bubble in there that is very like could be harmful to women, which is why I think it's like even harder to get into that as a woman. But if I look at the builders community, I think it's like that is like the people who go to the hackathons, who like think about what projects, like who already are building projects in 3 years, and like really think about onboarding, about like solving real world issues. And I think that community, to like describe the culture, I think it's very, very beautiful, because it's very optimistic. Like you think you can develop a new system, and then you realize, oh, we might have to take some of the old things because they work, or like maybe some of the concepts. And I think it's a very exciting community. I think it's fair to say also a bit delusional, but you have to be that, in my opinion, to like reach some point.
Yeah.
I would say it's beautiful. It's so global. Like I have now friends all over the world, and I feel like that was very, very special. I didn't have like when I was younger a hobby that made me connect to everybody all over the world. And being able to travel to every country and having like friends there, and you generally will like them, and you will like they will host you and they will show you around, and you can have super interesting conversations about the things you care about.
Yeah.
I think that is really, really beautiful. And I think I mentioned it earlier. Being surrounded by people that care so much about something is just really beautiful. I would say it's also very intense, and sometimes I'm tired and I need time with people who don't know anything about Web3. And I would say also Web3 is a culture where a lot of people enjoy spending all their time in that ecosystem, where I think that you asked me like about the culture, and like I would say that's like one of the things that I feel is beautiful, and I understand that like people can become friends with their coworkers, and I think that will also enable a lot of like interesting thoughts and products and like things coming out of that. I still do sometimes think it would be also important for some people to separate this a bit more. There's a level of like spending time with people in Web3 that could be too much. I don't
Yeah,
know
to
if that was too critical.
touch the grass, touch the stones, yeah, and
Exactly.
travel
Um,
not only to conferences but
yes,
for
yes.
pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I admire that people care so much and they can like go to this like cabin and just like say like I want to meet all of these people. We have the same vision, and then they just come together. And yeah, I think that's beautiful. It's beautiful also. It's a bit crazy, but as I said, I think we're all a bit obsessed. Like I think you
Yeah.
have to like really care to be here.
What can you recommend to people who want to grow their network in Web3? Do you have any tips or tricks how to make friends?
I by accident got a very, very big network, and I was just by showing up. So I think that's the main thing. I think just say yes to all the, especially if you're entering, just say yes to all the opportunities. If there's a study group, say yes, but also show up. If there's like program like Kernel, I can recommend everybody to apply to Kernel. Just like you learn about the concept of blockchain, but you also will create a great network or like attend ReFi, do all of the things. When I entered, I had like three different project study groups at the same time, but also take ownership. Like if there is not the thing you're looking for, say I can do that, and like that way people see you also like as somebody who can like
Deliver.
deliver. Like you will learn a lot. Like I learned so I would say as much in 3 years here as I've learned in like 9 years before, because you just have to. And I think my whole thing with that, I was just like, I showed up. I was like, oh, somebody is needed here to like host the hacker house, do this, organize the groups for the hackathon. That's what I did. And then they were like, oh, do you want to join us? And I think that's just the thing to do. Like if you can start organizing a local community. If you don't have the means to travel, start organizing a local community. Most chains are interested at one point to like work with local communities together. That's also how you can apply for a job, by saying, hey, I hosted this group for like a year or two, and I got like participants, like started with 10 and got to 100 participants. That's something that you can do. I think definitely get active in the communities. If you're a developer, go to developer DAOs, show up to like whatever events they are hosting. I know it's a privilege to travel, so like, but if you can travel, go to conferences. Even if you're introverted, you will meet like two or three people that might also be like at conferences. Web3 is also full of people that are neurodivergent. So if you're neurodivergent, you'll meet a lot of people that understand you and you can connect with. So even if you're scared, there will be spaces where you can calm down and re-energize, and where people are that understand how you feel. And I think so, but I think not going there, I think the main thing is you can go everywhere and you can say, "Hi, I'm Lena. I'm interested in this." And people will be open, ask questions. I think one of the things that don't work, if you just say, if you're there for contact hunting, it has to be genuine and people feel that. But like, especially if they see you're new, you're shy at like the ReFi summit, we had like so many times. I was talking to my friend and somebody came and said, "Can I stand with you?" And we're like, "Of course, tell us everything about you. What are you doing? You should meet that person, you know?" And I feel like that's something that you can probably expect, that people will be open and will want to connect you and will want to help you, especially if they realize you have a genuine interest. I think understand what you find interesting about this space and then share that, and people will be open to that and you will find your right community.
So, dear listeners, I'll leave all Lena's links under this video and you can follow her, and also you can text her and ask for advice. So thank you very much for listening us, for watching this video, and see you in the next videos.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for having me, Daria. And yeah, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to share and support.